I hear there's big news for building submarines. Give us the details.
Yep.
What happened, Joe?
So, I mean, we talk about this a lot, when I'm on the program, but what happened last week, almost exactly a week ago, was that, the Navy finally announced the awarding of two major contracts, actually three. One for the Virginia-class program, which basically, again, locks in a contract for 9 Virginia-class submarines. Those are 7,800 tons apiece. And then 5 Columbia submarines, which are the new sort of construction program that's been going on down in Groton. Those are 20,000 tons each. So combined, it's about 177,000 tons between the two contracts, as well as $5 billion for workforce and industrial base development. So the combined total is $76 billion for the three contracts. In terms of dollar amounts, that stands out as probably the biggest contract award from the U.S. Navy. Again, the Virginia contract was authorized by Congress back in 2023, which is, definitely a required step, actually, under the Constitution. The Columbia contract was signed into law in 2025. So the guys who were negotiating that contract at EB, when we had a big press conference down at the Groton Municipal Building, said it was 1,570 plus days of negotiations to get across the finish line. Yeah. But like I said, this locks in the work, and in many respects, it's even more important for supply chain companies who really can't sort of show a book of business or a backlog when they go into the bank or whatever to get financing. And, we had a good turnout. Westminster Tool was at the announcement press conference, Hannah Coombs from Plainfield. And, there are other supply chain companies up in the region there. Steve LaPointe was at the announcement from Quinebaug Valley, because they, have really already, shifted the focus of a lot of their manufacturing towards the submarine industrial base program. And then we stopped by Turtle Lot High School yesterday to visit Melinda Smith, the superintendent. They have really wisely made the welding labs available during the summer months for the manufacturing pipeline program. So there were 6 trainees that were basically 2 weeks away from finishing up and really getting their badge and going into the shipyard. They're very excited, enthusiastic. They showed me some of the welds, that they have already been doing. And again, they've got, great staff and mentors that are there. But, there's definitely skepticism out there about, well, it's a green labor force. They're really not going to be able to keep up with this production cadence. But the fact is that they're up to 27,000 people now at EB between Quonset and Groton, and the quality scores for the last sub that was just commissioned, USS Idaho, was the highest in the history of the program. So I think that the millennials and Gen Zers, because they're getting the right curriculum in terms of the training programs, have really shown that they're up to the task. And again, this reaches up to the quiet corner.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned all these local programs, too. Steve LaPointe, he's just incredible with, he's such a cheerleader for manufacturing jobs.
Yep.
And he talks about this all the time, the opportunities for people who go through that program. And then even at a lower level, at a high school level, I talk to a high school. I have 7 high schools that come through my show every single week during the school year. And I've been talking to kids from Turtle Lot Memorial High School with this welding program. And I say, you're a senior, where are you going? They graduated and they're walking into a job at EB, like you just said, which is incredible. $76 billion in contracts. Again, that's for work in Groton and also Quonset Point, as you mentioned. Timeline that takes us out, Joe. How many years with jobs?
So if you look at the delivery schedule for both the Block 6 Virginia boats, the 9 Virginia boats, and then the Columbia boats, the deliveries are going to be into the late 2030s. Okay, so you can do the math in terms of just how long that's going to be, and if you look at the shipbuilding plan that's in place right now, that's always subject to some change, but the fact is there's going to be a Block 7, and there's going to be a follow-on to the Columbia. So, I mean, really, in terms of just looking beyond these new contracts, this is a enterprise that's going to be continuing, into the 2040s easy.
And why such large orders too versus a couple of boats at a time? Why such large orders? What's the thinking?
Well, again, it's kind of like shopping at Costco when you bulk buy,
right.
or Trader Joe's. I don't want to pick on one.
Yeah.
Discount stores, but the fact is
when you're negotiating prices, let's negotiate for a whole bunch of
in bulk.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So materials, but honestly, it's also really important for hiring to have that longer horizon that's there, and again, that is particularly important to the smaller supply chain companies, who, by the way, are going to benefit from these job training programs and programs that are happening in the high schools. This, it's not indentured servitude. You don't have to go to EB necessarily if you don't want to, and we've gotten feedback that some new trainees would actually prefer to work in a smaller shop, and that's good. It's all good.
Yeah, because you've got obviously EB and Quonset, and then all the supply chain manufacturers, and there's so many of them. You mentioned a couple here today, which is wonderful. You said 27,000. That's how many people are employed right now down on Electric Boat?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, if you look back, in 2021, it was 17,000.
Yeah.
So these announcements of hiring goals that happen every year, and this year in 2026, the hiring goal is 8,000. But I mean, look, and the retention has really improved in terms of people staying. So over time, that's why it's been able to grow to that level. When we had the press conference, Mark Reha, who's the CEO of Electric Boat, he was asked about, well, how's it going in terms of your 8,000 hiring target for 2026, and he said they're over halfway there. And so we're in, that was end of July, so that. It's just about on schedule.
So 4,000 jobs still to fill.
Plus, right. That's correct.
Yeah.
And again, I honestly, based on his announcement last February, it was pretty clear that 2027 and 2028, they're going to be at similar, very ambitious goals.
You just reminded me too with all the jobs expansion, more jobs. Electric Boat, they took over or purchased the old used to be Crystal Mall. What are they doing down there? What are they doing at the Crystal Mall? What's going to happen there?
So right now, if you went into Groton in the morning, you would see major traffic and parking challenges that are there. And again, the Groton, the big green building, and now the big gray building is obviously where a lot of the manufacturing component of the enterprise is, but there's also a large workforce that does engineering and design work. So basically the Crystal Mall, which is about 300,000 to 400,000 square feet of space, is going to be devoted to the engineering workforce, which is going to really take a lot of pressure, off the traffic and commuting situation there. I mean, anyone who's been there knows there's a ton of parking at the Crystal Mall. And and right now, really, they're looking to start moving people in sometime later this fall. The town of Waterford, which, if you go nearby there, you'll see there's 500 new housing units that are there, which is, according to the first selectman I was talking to, he said is about 80% occupied by EB employees. They just approved another 700 units, really almost within walking distance of the Crystal Mall. So, there's clearly a big question and concern, rightly so, about housing because some of the trainees I was talking to yesterday, one was from Hartford, one was from East Haddam, one was from up in Killingly. They want to move closer to work. I mean, that's a pretty long commute. And so that's, definitely going to be, certainly a focus that's there. And but I'm pretty bullish on it. There were developers that were in the room, real estate developers in the room in Groton Municipal Building at the time of the announcement. So they're all trying to get their heads around this. And obviously the new housing bill that Congress got through the wickets recently is actually good timing in terms of some of the new supply side policies that are in there to increase housing growth.
Yeah, and funny you use the phrase "wrap your head around." There's a lot of that, trying to wrap our heads around things and keep up with the ever-changing landscape. Housing certainly huge.